Hey, it's Pastor Darrell, and it's about 9 o'clock at night, and I'm still at my church, and I'm doing what you call lunching. But I had something I thought would be very special to share with you all. First, repeat after me and say, "The point is still the point." All right? Who knows what these are? These, my friend, are 8-track tapes. These tapes, this is how we got our music in the 60s and 70s. There were 8-track players in cars. You had them on your stereo system, and the music was carried on these right here. My father had Otis Redding and Barry White, all kinds of people on 8-track tape, and so the 8-track was the way we got our music. But then along came what we have here is the record wax. Man. And how many remember your uncle or your father who had milk cartons full of these records? I mean, even, these, 45s, small versions of the same thing. You could flip the record over. You had to touch the needle and make sure that it was picking up and everything was hot. And you play the record and just the sound of the record. Modern studios, they got a sound that gives you the sound of the noise of the phono of the record. And so the record was great, but the record got pushed aside very quickly by this little thing here called the cassette tape. And the cassette tape was, everybody had these. You had your aunt had the little box, your little suitcase in the back seat, had all the little tapes stuffed inside. And this is when New Edition was really hot. Cassette tapes were blasting, and you could go to Radio Shack and buy blank tapes, and then you could put them in your radio, your boom box, and you could record the radio. How many record the radio? You record the radio, both sides, and you got your favorite songs, and you put them all together. But you had to listen to the whole radio show till it played your songs that you wanted, and you recorded your songs. And if you missed them, you had to come back the next day, set your tape, and record from the same place, and you could erase and so on and so forth and went with the cassette tape. But this lasted only a short time. After a while, then came out this. The CD, the compact disc blew the cassette tape out of the water. Now everybody had these hanging over their visor. They had, photo book albums, books full of CDs, 300 CDs now. They're more efficient, a better quality. They promised you all those things. And so the CD pushed it out of the way. But even the CD could not hang on forever. Then this little thing right here, what we have is the iPod here. This iPod here is the thing that took the CD and everything that came before it out of the box. Basically, our grandparents would be amazed to know that all of those 300 records they had in the milk carton and all of those CDs that they had, all of that music could actually fit on here. That we could fit 1,500 records with all of their songs, even spoken word, and that we could even create a playlist with this one spin of your thumb. You could spin back into the 60s or up into the current modern day music sound that you hear right now, pop music. It's amazing that music has come all these different ways, but the point was always still the point, even though it changed. And I believe the same thing happens with us, with our lives. It's amazing that cell phones have gotten, I remember when the cell phone was giant. My father had a big cell phone, and then all of a sudden they got smaller and smaller and smaller, all the way down to they're just, our flat smartphones that we have today. And that was amazing to me, because cell phones progressed. Cars park themselves today because they've taken the next step. But the point is still the point, and everything has progressed except for our spiritual orientation, our ideas about God and our faith and how we live it out and how it manifests itself. Everything progresses except for our spiritual orientation. And I think that that's a sad tragedy for us, because at the end of the day, I believe that God wants us to take the next step. Everything that God does, he does it. And then he moves on and says, "Behold, I'm doing a new thing in you." But will you know it? Or will you be stuck back at the thing I did, the former thing that I did? And so God struggles. He labors with his people over and over again about not remembering what I did, but what I am doing. Let me say this to you. The greatest hindrance to what God is doing is what God did. And you got to be careful when it comes to your spiritual faith and your orientation, that you don't get stuck in the thing that God was doing and you're missing what God is doing today, because God is always doing a new thing. And so I'm Pastor Darrell saying, be encouraged, but take the next step. And remember that the point is still the point, even though the model and the method changes. It's interesting that our families are new and different. We don't have traditional families anymore. You know, we have blended families where there are kids from this relationship and from that relationship. And our marriages are walked out differently. All kinds of things operate. Our dating is different. Everything must take that next step, even though the point is still the point. So take this and be encouraged. I don't know where you are in your life right now, but just be encouraged and remember that the point is still the point, and you have to always stay in step with God by taking the next step.